The Omicron variant continues to close schools across the metro area. A lot of students, in fact, will spend next week in remote learning due to COVID exposures and staffing challenges.
But Portland has not done a district-wide closure. Instead, they're evaluating each school on an individual basis. Katu's Genevieve Rayom continues to closely cover school developments for us. She joins us live. And Genevieve, who's telling you that the Portland public school numbers are inaccurate?
Well, Steve, 3 people, a PPS teacher who got COVID, the PPS union president, as well as a contracted worker for PPS. Now, that woman asked to remain anonymous, but she spoke to us because she knew she had to share her story. This is the PPS COVID dashboard from Friday afternoon. Nearly 1,400 students and staff at PPS isolated or in quarantine. Yet the district says none of those are due to on-site exposure.
What is your reaction to that? Do you think that's true?
No, it's completely inaccurate and a total misrepresentation.
Katu has confirmed this woman is a contracted health services worker with PPS. She asked us not to share her name, but part of her job is contact tracing and telling parents if their kids have been exposed, something she says her team is doing daily.
In one school alone, in 1 week, there's been approximately 80 to 100 cases of exposures.
Yet still, the dashboard says 0. PPS warns that the data may be delayed, but when asked about the COVID tracker on Tuesday, the district's chief of staff maintained the reason they're closing schools is because of staffing, not safety.
The dashboard and the numbers is a reflection of, schools, controlled spaces are safe.
I've been asking PPS for an interview since yesterday, and just about 20 minutes ago, I did get a response from Jonathan Garcia, and he tells us, quote, the PPS dashboard reports students who were exposed to COVID-19 and are required to quarantine. It does not report on all on-site exposures, as students following our COVID-19 safety protocols and eligible students who are fully vaccinated would not be required to quarantine unless they were displaying symptoms of COVID-19. So what this basically says is the district says, yes, there may have been on-site exposures, but if that student or staff member met the certain criteria, like was vaccinated or was masking properly, then they wouldn't need to quarantine. So those numbers are not going to be reported on the dashboard, but this still goes against what I am hearing from teachers and from parents. I put an ask out there on Twitter yesterday to see if any parents had any kids quarantined because of COVID-19, and one parent told me, yeah, my kid has been quarantined. He is vaccinated due to on-site exposure. So we are still trying to work out those logistics with PPS. I did send up a follow-up email. We'll let you know if we hear back.
Yeah, Steve, one language and literature teacher here started with the district almost 20 years ago. She now plans to finish out this school year before moving away from her teaching career. The educator says this was not an easy decision, but tells me with the current tension within PPS this week, this was her breaking point. Carrie Troller started her teaching career at Portland Public Schools, first at Marshall, then Roosevelt, and now Cleveland High School. The literature teacher says throughout the pandemic, she hoped this could be a turning point to reevaluate the way students are educated, but became doubtful as this year began.
It started at the beginning of this school year when it was very clear that we were going to go back, and none of the lessons that we learned during the pandemic as far as schooling goes were going to happen.
K2 News obtained a copy of a letter from the district released this week. It says PPS received reports of colleagues asking educators to call out sick with the intention of closing down district schools. Troller says being out of school provides its own challenges, and these accusations were the final straw.
Be like, oh, I'm working at Starbucks and I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so I'm going to make 150 lattes before I go so that you have them ready for tomorrow. It's not, missing school is not easy for anyone.
The district responded with an email this afternoon saying, quote, we are politely declining this interview. Coming up tonight at 6, we'll have more from PPS parents who are sharing their concerns around these resignations. Live in Southeast Portland, Megan Allison, K2 News.
I will see you soon as well, Megan. Thank you. Portland Public Schools released this statement today saying their top priority at the moment is to ensure schools can remain open. Additionally, they said this, quote, generally speaking, it is unlawful for educators to participate in any sort of coordinated action to be absent for anything other than a legitimate reason under the negotiated collective bargaining agreement.
They are. It's not a good outlook right now. I spoke with the interim chief medical officer here at Peace Health, who also happens to be an emergency room doctor, and he tells me they are at capacity every single night. We haven't even reached that peak, which means over the next week or so, things could get pretty bad.
It's the calm before the surging storm. Analysts predicting the surge of Omicron cases and hospitalizations will peak any day now. But already medical resources in Southwest Washington are getting stretched thin.
We are at capacity pretty much every day.
And they know. Dr. Raymond Lee, the interim chief medical officer at Peace Health Southwest Medical Center, says he knows this isn't the worst of it.
And we're stressed in. We are every day we're trying to prepare and figure out how to meet today's capacity demands.
And that strain on hospitals is being felt all over Southwest Washington, according to county health officials.
In terms of overall capacity, we do not have a lot of room left in those hospitals. About 97% of total hospital beds are occupied and about 98% of ICU beds.
Which is why hospitals and health officials are asking anyone who is sick to stay home and do not come to the emergency rooms for testing. On Thursday, Governor Inslee called for all non-emergent procedures to stop to help hospital capacity. It's something Peace Health implemented a few weeks ago and say it does make a difference.
It helps. It's just a general idea of really have to prioritize what we needed to do.
Nearly 2 years into the pandemic, Dr. Lee says they are prepared and well practiced.
We've been pretty good at this by now. The interesting thing about COVID is that every surge seems to be a little different. This is a little different than Delta surge, actually a lot more different than Delta surge. So we have to be nimble to meet the different demands that each surge has.
So what exactly does being nimble mean? And is the National Guard headed to Southwest Washington to help? I have those answers for you tonight at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, the court ruled that private businesses don't have to mandate vaccines, but they still can if they want to. The court also ruled that healthcare facilities that take federal money, they still have those vaccine mandates. That didn't sit well with everyone. The president of the American Healthcare Association said today that could push vaccine-hesitant healthcare workers to walk off the job, and that could threaten the care of thousands of people who need it.
This is Hildegard Lamfrom, a Northwest molecular biologist who played a part in developing the polio vaccine. She's also the sister and aunt of the last two CEOs of Columbia Sportswear.
So as you can imagine, there's a firmly held belief within the family that vaccines are important and work. And so it's consistent with the family's contribution to community health to be committed to vaccines.
Even though the Supreme Court blocked the OSHA rule that businesses with more than 100 employees require vaccinations or weekly testing, Columbia Sportswear is still expecting everybody at its corporate headquarters to be vaccinated or request an exemption by February 1st. The company made that decision before the Supreme Court made theirs.
And I think they were signaling pretty strongly how they were going to come out, but it doesn't change our commitment to this vaccination mandate for our headquarter employees at all. It certainly would have made it easier as if we think that we're all in this together and working under the same rules.
It's been reported that Nike is doing something similar. Katu didn't get a response to a request for an interview to find out if that's still the plan. In a statement today, Democratic Washington Senator Patty Murray said the Supreme Court failed to recognize the serious danger workers face and undermined a common-sense workplace safety measure that would save lives, keep people healthy, and prevent COVID-19 spread.
Well, the National Retail Federation, the nation's largest retail trade group, called the Supreme Court decision a significant victory for employers.